top of the market offensive player of the year, what stands out and why?
There's basically no precedent for someone winning in back-to-back years, and it's not that Jefferson can't. It's just that what that speaks to is it's just really, 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 really difficult to have 2 years like that in a row. And he could be the first. It's almost like a golfer winning back-to-back golf tournaments or something. Like, sure, it can happen. I don't know if the probability is necessarily in the favor of that happening, but it can definitely happen. At that price, I don't think I would bet on him to do it again because it's just really difficult to kind of do it again. And I almost feel like last year he won despite the fact he didn't score many touchdowns. He would almost have to I feel like exceed his own statistics from last year to beat out somebody else who would be like a first time winner. So I think it actually, from a voter standpoint, like a voter fatigue standpoint, there's probably a real thing there. If he just completely outperforms everybody else, sure. If anybody completely outperforms everybody else, sure. But he would have to do that. If it was close, I feel like he would not win. And the team has to win a ton of games again. Remember, this is a team award too. And for winning 13 games, they sure weren't very good last year. The player who I think is the most likely to win, not a player that I would bet at like kind of these numbers, but who I have a little bit on, or I kind of like try to figure out a couple ways to play it, or I just kind of have in mind. I think Ja'Marr Chase is like a really, really, really good option. Guy who sort of his trajectory is like offensive rookie of the year, capable of putting up insane stat lines, hasn't won yet in part due to injury. And if he has a healthy season, the team winning the games, I don't think will be an issue at all. Cincinnati projects to have the highest win total in the league. They are very likely to win 11 or more games, or I should say they're more likely than other teams to win that many games. And he is the kind of player who could have that type of statistical season. Now it's just, can he do it for the whole season? We don't know. But just in terms of like, who do I actually think is the most likely to win? I don't think it's Jefferson. I think it's Chase. I think there's like a difference between the two of them. And it's really not Jefferson's fault. It's just that he won already. And so I think he actually has to outdo himself, and his team is less likely to be good than Ja'Marr Chase's team is.
We'll go to the AFC North. Joe Burrow.
Of course.
Ja'Marr Chase.
Of course.
Lamar Jackson.
Yes. Who didn't win, by the way, when he won MVP. He didn't win Offensive Player of the Year that year.
Nick Chubb.
Sure. It has to be considered possible, even if very unlikely.
And Deshaun Watson. I don't think it's likely, but I think we have to I think he has to make the list.
Yeah, he's an interesting one. I agree with you. Like, you'd rather be open-minded than closed-minded with having seen zero football so far. And it's almost just like name recognition, right? As opposed to like anything that we've seen since he's been on the Browns, or, just like it's just kind of possible, but it's the least likely one of the who's Chubb and him are both very unlikely to win, and nobody on the Steelers. Right, which is
I have nobody on the Steelers. Correct.
I completely agree with that. I think they're not that they can't win 11 or more games. Who would be the most likely player? Like, Pickens takes a massive leap.
I guess, but I mean, like, there's so many mouths to feed on that offense. Alex, our executive producer, is a big Steelers fan, says Najee Harris. The problem with Najee is that he splits work with Jalen Warren.
Right.
Do you think there's anyone I'm missing here? Like Amari Cooper? No way. He's Cleveland's number one
receiver. No, I like
receiver.
that you're being open. I like that you're even being open. Like, if I was making, it's almost two lists, right? The like greater than 0% list, or the like, no, like these guys really have a chance list. Cause like, I'm not even putting Chubb and Deshaun on the like really realistic list. And I'm definitely putting Lamar, Burrow, and Chase on. In the AFC East, I'm putting Allen and Diggs. I really don't like Diggs to win the award. I guess I have to put the Jets on, but like, I really don't think so. Dolphins all have to be on. Ramondre's not on. So, I mean, you're going to get to like a really narrow band here pretty fast in terms of again, it's just like win 11 plus and lead your position group in yards and touch. Like, how difficult that is to do. It's like borderline impossible. Hence really only one player does it every year.
Alex wrote in our chat, Odell Beckham Jr. Like, no, 0.0% chance. Like, we could, I don't think the Ravens pass catchers are all like, they're all going to cannibalize each other. Hopefully not like literally. But their chances of winning the award, because they're going to spread the ball out everywhere. You bet with Nick and Ken here on a terrific Tuesday, talking Offensive Player of the Year, focusing here on the AFC. I'm curious what you're going to think of what I did here in the AFC South. Would you like to think of guess? Like, I want to give you, guess how many players I have.
All right. Well, like I would really, 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 really steer away from rookies. So I like hope you didn't put Anthony Richardson on. But I mean, like even Lawrence is going to be really tough, and he's like the first name that you would put on the list. Names that are possible, like I mean, greater than 0%. Lawrence, I guess ETN, but would never bet him. Jonathan Taylor, but would never bet him. No one on Houston. I mean, like Derrick Henry won a couple of years ago. I mean, it's like this is the greater than 0%. If this is the greater than 0% list, it's probably all those guys. And if it's the like, no, who can like actually win? None of them, probably.
Do you have any other bets you've placed on the Heisman Trophy market? Any handicapping of it as we stand right now?
I did get Doug Nussmeier. I got Nussmeier down at LSU 60-1 to win the Heisman, but now I don't think I've seen a shop over 20 or 30-1 out there. I'm talking Westgate. I think Starka popped him up on the board. Everybody's kind of hot on that. He's not even the starter, so I wouldn't even look at that because, you know, he's like I said, you need a college football playoff team, which this whole Heisman correlation to being a playoff team, how do we even handicap that next year when 12 teams can make the playoff? And the Heisman comes before those 12 teams start. So I think you're going to see some Heisman upsets next year. I think this year we have to follow the formula. You have to make the playoff. You shouldn't be a West Coast team. I know Caleb broke these things last year, but when you think about it, Bryce Young, Alabama, they underachieved. CJ Stroud, they underachieved. It still made the playoff, but they still underachieved, didn't win the Big Ten. So what you want to do is take teams that are going to make the playoff and take those quarterbacks. And Nussmeier down at LSU fills that, except for the problem is he's the backup. But if Jaden Daniels gets hurt, you're going to see the best arm in the SEC play. So I like that number. Try to look for 30-1 or better out there.
And if the Warriors are who they are, and they're like the most resilient, successful team of the last 15 years, then until they're like dead, then I'm like not going to believe they're dead. And it doesn't mean I'm going to bet them to come back and win the series because it's really difficult to do. And by the way, like just bet them in all 3 games. Like why even bet the series price at this point? It's the same bet. I'll give them more of a benefit of the doubt down 3-1 with 2 home games than any other team in this situation, maybe ever. And so I think, you know, most times we would get to this point, like with Knicks Heat, and just be like, all right, cool. Like, let's talk about the next series. Let's talk about what's going to happen. And this team has kind of like earned the ability for us to still be like, you know, they're going to be like a really big favorite. And then they're going to like play a game 6 in LA. And then they're going to be a really big favorite again. And we're playing every other day with 2 really old players on the other team. And if somebody steps wrong, this thing's like a wrap the other way. So it feels, I don't know if the 3-1 series has ever felt this tenuous before. And that's because of the team that's down.
It's